Have you guys heard with this Starbucks thing that's going on right now? Starbucks uh new policy, if you're not buying, get out. Remember, like, it's just like in New York back in the day, hurry up, buy or leave or whatever they used to say in the stores when you walk in the stores as kids. You know, they like, hurry up and buy or leave, buy or go. You know, so we're used to that as kids living up north. But yeah, so Starbucks essentially is letting you know, if you're not buying, get the hell out of the place of our facility, right? And that's the new policy that's going on here. I got a video we'll watch, and also we'll touch also on what happened, our theory on what happened that's causing Starbucks to make this decision, right? But let's see what Starbucks got going.
Shut the door on its open door policy. The coffee chain is now telling people they must buy something or leave. The policy has led to conflict inside some of the stores, including one here in Philadelphia that resulted in a lawsuit. Action News race and culture reporter Toronto Thomas live outside of that store in Center City with more. Toronto.
Well, Rick, this Starbucks was at the center of that viral video in 2018 when two black men were arrested after sitting here waiting for a meeting and not purchasing anything. Some worry that this new must purchase policy will open the door for something like that to happen again. Change at the coffee house. Starbucks replacing its open door policy with a new policy that's meant to drive up business and drive out non-paying customers. The company sent this memo to stores about a new code of conduct, which, quote, makes it clear that our spaces, including our cafes, patios, and restrooms, are for use by paying customers and our partners.
It is a very, very risky move.
Temple University professor Abdullah Kamar researches business policies and their impact.
Clearly, some customers will feel safer, but there's a second type, which will be that some people will just not come, right? Because they feel that it is not a welcoming environment.
One of the concerns.
And that's very understandable. I understand where this researcher is coming from, saying that it does give you, your facility, a weird feeling, like I don't feel welcome. It's more like, hey, this is a business transaction, which goes against their marketing, right? Because their marketing is, look, nice tables, comfortable place to come and do work, and clean bathrooms, and it's almost like one of those workspace, it was clean place to do business. And I'm sure a lot of people that uses Starbucks, right, on a regular basis to buy coffee, sometime might walk in there just to have a quick meeting because I don't want to take the person to my apartment. Let's say you live in one of these apartments right here. You have a meeting and you know Starbucks is on the right downstairs. You could feel like it's a safe place to go and hold your meeting. And while you're there, you probably grab your favorite drink, a water, or a snack, right? But Starbucks is making sure you're grabbing that snack, is making sure you get that drink now in order to sit in there. So I understand his point. It's making the consumer less comfortable, right? And Starbucks is saying, no, if you're in there, you pay. And that case they're speaking of is a case that happened, they say 2018. Around that time, I remember watching that case and what happened. So let's
That the policy could encourage bias, a situation Starbucks already faced in 2018 when two black men were arrested after sitting inside a Starbucks in Center City without buying anything. The incident sparked widespread protests and policy change, with Starbucks then solidifying its open door policy, saying people didn't have to buy anything to use the space. This new policy is an about face.
It may create some inherent discrimination culture if the employees are not trained and they just implement this policy, this can be detrimental because different employees can treat customers very differently, right?
According to the memo, each store will get up to 3 hours of training on the new policies, which are also aimed at encouraging paying customers to stay longer by offering free refills on hot or iced coffee. It's a move to drive up profits for the coffee company, which has seen a dip in sales. With some stores citing safety issues, Starbucks says the new policies are part of a mission to, quote, get back to Starbucks and create the warm and welcoming coffee house our customers expect.
Yeah, it's. I understand their strategy. They're trying to keep paying customers in, paying customers coming, and they're trying to create a culture that if you know you're going to Starbucks, you got to buy something. So it will probably increase their sales, but by not much. I don't think. By how much? I don't think it's going to be much. I don't think it's going to be much. And people that would be just curious buyers, someone sitting there seeing something, that's gonna decrease. That's gonna eliminate that shopper. So that's the problem I'm seeing with it. And I don't know if it's a good move. Here, I'll show you guys a better video of what happened, I believe 6 years ago, 6+ years ago, right? So this is the reason. This is what happened. And this is a report when it was happening back then.
On the defensive, two men were escorted out of the cafe on Thursday accused of trespassing. They'd gone there to meet a friend and asked to use the restroom. When they refused to leave, a worker called the police. Their friend turned up as they were being removed.
What did they do? Did someone tell me what they did?
They didn't do anything. I saw the entire thing.
After that video went viral, Starbucks went into damage control.
We're always working to create the very best environment in our stores and in our communities. Tireless efforts to bridge the opportunity divide for young men and women of color. And I've never been more proud of this company and what they do. And this incident does not reflect the spirit of our brand. It was an unfortunate incident, and we'll be sure to make it right.
Starbucks CEO Kevin Johnson also apologized on Twitter. This was little comfort for protesters who rallied outside and inside the chain's coffee shop in Philadelphia on Sunday.
And you know there's going to be some protesters.
The police commissioner defended the officers involved.
When the call was initially made, the Starbucks employees had told the males that they were going to call police, and they said, go ahead and call police, we don't care. So police get there and they're confronted by the same type of attitude, and repeatedly are told that they're not leaving. In fact, there's some alleged rhetoric about you don't know what you're doing, you're only a $45,000 a year employee or something.
And yes, people do treat police like, you ain't really, why are you talking to me? Some arrogant people do speak like that to the police. But nonetheless, right? They came, arrested those guys, and they were released, obviously, right? But got arrested, went through the whole thing. And I believe that's why Starbucks is doing this. And they waited a little while, so we didn't jump on it right away. But we get it, Starbucks. You don't want people in your place. And they got a big issues because it made national news. And I'll show you guys what happened, the outcome. Because those guys did end up suing Starbucks and they did get some money. So Starbucks wasn't saying how much, but they did sue Starbucks and the city. And they did their thing.
Some massive settlement. Think again. An attorney for Rashawn Nelson and Dante Robinson say they're walking away with a mere $2. And
$2 from the city, not from Starbucks, right?
An important promise.
What did they get called for? Because there are two black guys sitting here meeting me? Yes.
The viral video was seen by millions, setting off a fiery debate over racial bias and sparking protest and sit-ins at Starbucks nationwide.
What do we want?
On Wednesday, the two men arrested and the city of Philadelphia struck an agreement. Dante Robinson and Rashawn Nelson will be paid $1 each by the city and have their arrest records expunged.
I'm thrilled that they just did it for a dollar with the city. It showed a lot of class on their part.
Yeah, I mean, that was respectable, right? Because they didn't go for much. They just wanted the police department's attention, right? So they got the attention. And shout out to the police department as well, because they worked with these guys very quickly, swiftly, got that whole thing erased from their record so it won't show they were arrested, and solve it in a very I would say humane and professional manner. So that's important. Again, that's the second story today that we got, and we're highlighting that, hey, sometimes the police will catch their mistake and solve it right away. So that's encouraging to see as well.
The city also agreed to fund a $200,000 grant program for aspiring high school entrepreneurs.
And they're spending some money. They just didn't take the money. So they agreed with the police department to open a grant, and it was for a couple $100,000, right? So they did something.
Robinson and Nelson will work on the grant committee.
I think that's very good for the city and for the youth especially.
Philadelphia's Mayor Jim Kenney released a statement that reads in part, "This was an incident that evoked a lot of pain in our city. Rashawn Nelson and Dante Robinson invited us to partner with them in an attempt to make something positive come of this." In April, the two young men were arrested in a neighborhood Starbucks for trespassing after the store manager phoned police when the men, waiting for a meeting, asked to use the bathroom and then declined to make a purchase.
Hi, I have two gentlemen at my cafe that are refusing to make a purchase or leave. I'm at the Starbucks at 18th and Spruce. All right, please, I'll be on as soon as possible.
Days after the incident, the Starbucks CEO offered an apology.
What happened and the way that
Hey, there goes the apology. There goes the apology. And we respect it. We respect it. As a CEO, you come forward, you apologize, realizing the mistake and addressing it head on. I respect it.
incident escalated and the outcome was nothing but reprehensible. And I'm sorry.
The manager who worked at that Starbucks is no longer there. A week later, the pair told their story.
He wasn't read any rights, nothing. Just double lock, handcuffs behind our back, and escorted out and put into a squad car.
That stuff never happened to me. So you have to walk in somebody else's shoes, try to understand where they're coming from, and then change your heart and change your mind and move forward in a positive way.
The two men also reached a confidential financial settlement with Starbucks.
There you go. There you go. These boys got some money. They got some money because it was wrong. It was wrong. You call a car and, you know, clearly these young men are a young black man trying to handle some business, setting up a meeting. Everyone set up meeting at Starbucks. Everyone set up meeting at, you know, a coffee shop. We all have done that. And they got taken to jail for doing this very same thing countless people around the country is doing because they chose not to buy a coffee and ask to use the bathroom. So that was a mistake. They fixed it, right? They paid the money. They did what they had to do. And now, 6 years later, almost 7 years later, they removed the policy. So now, in turn, someone won't come in there and say, look, I don't want, and go through the same thing. It'll be a clear, hey, this is policy. It's very well known. You can't come in here and hang out and not buy anything. We're covering our asses in a sense. So, you know, shout out to Starbucks. Is it the right thing? I don't know if it's the right thing because it clearly shows some animosity for what happened 6, 7, 9 years ago. You understand? It's clearly showing, look, we waited long enough and we're going to do what we want, which is kick your ass out for real legally. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's that's that's where the problem lies, you know? So is it going to be good? Is it going to be good for Starbucks? We don't know. We don't know. But let's finish watching the initial story and we'll see what else they got.
I spoke to Dante Robinson, one of the two men arrested at the Starbucks in 2018. I asked him about his thoughts on this new policy. He declined to comment, saying that he's moved on from the situation. He and his friend both settled with Starbucks and the city. Now, as
that sounds like somebody that's very happy with the amount of money he got. I got my money. I'm straight. Starbucks is the homie. They can't do that. You know what I'm saying? They can't do that wrong. So clearly the guy got some money and don't want to keep speaking. And it's probably part of his settlement not to say anything because it's confidential, right? So the guy's not going to say anything. But we can understand he got some money and he's doing good.
For that new policy saying that you must purchase something in order to use the restroom or hang out in this area of Starbucks, well, you can look for those stores to start posting about that, putting it on their doors, on their walls soon. Live in Center City.
So, yeah, exactly. It's if I was him, I wouldn't say nothing either. I got, you know, they probably settled for a couple $100,000, maybe $1 million, maybe, we don't know. And I'm happy. I'm not gonna keep talking crap about Starbucks. I'm not gonna talk shit on the homie. They paid me. I'm good. I'm good. So shout out to Starbucks, man. Hopefully everything work out. And you know, don't go sit in a business if you're not supporting it. I also believe that. So most people, if they go, you know, to a coffee shop or something of that nature, a restaurant, lounge, you buy a drink, you buy a water. At the least, if you're not hungry, if you're not thirsty or whatever, buy a drink, buy a water, you know, and support the place so that way the place don't feel like you just there just to use their facility, their lights, their Wi-Fi, etc., and not spend any money. It's business at the end of the day, right?